Hello, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Another
You good?
week. Yeah.
Another week, indeed. Summer has disappeared.
Oh, yeah, it's got a bit strange, hasn't it? Just for these last couple of days.
Well,
Yeah.
as July hits, as
Yeah.
usual,
Should be
July is
better
always.
tomorrow, I think, or Friday.
Yeah,
Friday.
Friday,
Yeah.
the summer is returning, isn't it? And
Yeah.
tomorrow is
Yeah.
slightly better. Mm. Although
But
I
I'm
can't
in
really
t-shirt and
complain.
shorts still, so quite happy really.
The thing is, once you get into the summer clothes, you can't just return back to the winter stuff, can
No,
you?
definitely not. Definitely, it needs. So that I think once it takes me a while to get into it to start with because it's cold, but then yeah, I mean I'll be walking around like this in when it's 9 degrees again before I think, hang on a minute, I need to go back to longs now.
Interesting, but I can't complain. As you probably know, a couple of weeks ago I've mentioned about my son's sports day and all the hoo-ha about it. So yesterday was the day, and as you know, the forecast was horrendous. Like the couple of days before, we've been watching it,
Yep.
and then and it's just 80% chance of rain, 90% chance of rain, 100% chance of rain from 9 o'clock in the morning. In the meantime, at the background, I was saying to myself, you know what? It'll be fine. You will hold off till 1 o'clock. Everything will be fine. And like the evening before, there was no cancellation. So, okay, we're going to go ahead. We dressed up for the
Yep.
occasion, as the case may be,
Yes.
and showed up at 9 o'clock. And yes, it did start. And when we checked the weather forecast in the
Yeah.
morning,
Okay.
the rain didn't start till 1 o'clock. It was
There
just
you go.
cloudy. It was like, yes, fantastic. And we just,
Perfect.
yes, true to form, we showed up and there was no rain. It was very cold.
Yes. Yeah. Well, again, when you get used to the heat, a little bit of
Yeah.
reduction and you feel really quite cold.
Yes, even though we were dressed up for the occasion, it was still quite cold. But anyway, we were so pleased that we were able to watch the sports day. And it turns out this was the last one that we get to watch because in the secondary school, that anyone invite parents apparently.
Yeah, that's it. Well, our boy is in secondary school. Yeah, sports day was yesterday, but no, we didn't get even any looking at all. Not a chance.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame.
Yeah,
So we were
but I
glad, but
do remember the junior school ones where
mm,
we got to go and see him do the three-legged race and all sorts and egg and spoon and all the fun stuff. As kid,
yeah,
come on, come on, come on. I think he won the egg and spoon on one occasion. See, it's stuck in my mind.
yeah. My son won a couple of the races and came second in one, and he was very good at howling and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was really good fun, despite the cold. And we were definitely looking forward to that cup of tea when we came home.
It makes it all the more worthwhile, doesn't it? Yeah,
It
definitely.
certainly does. Anyway, we're not here to talk about my son's sports day.
Oh, oh, I thought we were. Okay, all right. We're talking about something else then. Fair enough.
Well, today we're going to talk about guilt.
Sure. Can we do
Guilt.
this?
What
Is it okay to
what
do that?
what comes in your mind when I say guilt? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, I've done something wrong and I don't want people to know about it, really.
Oh, interesting. You don't want people to know about it.
No.
That
That's
bit
what I
I
thought.
never thought
You
of,
know,
to be honest.
is it okay for us to talk about this? Do I really want to talk about this?
We
Do I
we
really want
should,
to be
but we should
exposed?
perhaps talk about the context in which we're
Okay.
talking about guilt. This is not about crimes.
No, no, good.
So this is about kind of the guilt that busy women or busy dads might have. The guilt that we kind of feel when we don't get to do, or when we don't get to do the things that we want.
Mhm.
I mean, I guess we started with my son's sports day, but this was actually a very good example because, like I said at the time, I got to cancel a very important presentation in order to attend this sports day, and I
Right, yes.
realized this event that I've booked. I've been trying to book this since January, and
Right.
eventually we came to an agreement for a date, and we
Yep.
booked it for the 4th of July. Yes, perfect. I can do it, no problem, and
Sounds
put it in my
sounds all
calendar.
right. Yeah.
Then I was checking the school calendar versus my own digital calendar. The school calendar was right in front of me, printed out, things written down by hand, like the old school
Yep.
people would do, myself. Then I realized checking this date, oh great, fine, this date, great, fine. And then I was literally just transferring everything to my digital calendar, and I realized 4th of July, sports day, 4th of July, presentation. I was like, no, this can't be happening. So what I did is I just went and just said, I cannot miss this. There's no way I'm missing this. So we have to cancel. We have to reschedule. I rescheduled it for the same time the next day, which was today. So, and they were very good about it. They were fine, no problem. Everything had been organized well enough, so no problem. So the guilt would have been, had I gone ahead with the presentation despite the sports day being there and missed that sports day, I would have lived with that guilt of missing that day and not knowing that I wasn't going to be able to attend any other sports day like it.
Of course,
and when I do know it, of course, that's going to be even worse, right?
Well, yeah, you're going to be a bit, I want to be there, on the first occasion,
So the kind of guilt, it weighs down on you. It's kind of, it's there at the background. It's always on your mind. It's always playing in your mind, right? So if I hadn't cancelled it, that's what would have happened. But also, you could argue that you cancelled it, but you should feel guilty that you cancelled it because you're disorganized. I could have done that too. I'm so disorganized. Why did I do this? I could have actually beaten myself up about it, literally. And that's not a very good feeling either, is it?
No. So basically, you're double booked. You've got to do something. You've got to let somebody down, or you've got to change something. Otherwise, you just do nothing and let both parties down, or you don't get to do anything. It's but you got to do something. So so you're saying there were options to feel guilty either way.
Yes, but then there's options also, which is what we don't realize most of the time or allow ourselves to think through, because we're too busy judging and we're too busy beating ourselves up. That, well, there are other options too. Option to reschedule. It was an important presentation. I wanted to be present and I wanted to give it justice. And if I was missing the sports day, I would have felt extremely guilty. And I would have felt extremely preoccupied and not be able to do that presentation justice. And that would have frustrated me, and that would have made me feel even worse. So it's just like a double whammy.
I see. I could get that totally.
You get that totally. So recently somebody asked me, how do you have any tip in releasing guilt?
Good one. Yeah. Fair question.
Fair question. So, well, my answer to that is that, first of all, choose the actions that doesn't create the guilt in the first place. Like you say, you feel guilty because you've done something that you shouldn't have done. Well, that's kind of the answer is in the question, if you like. Do the things that you do want to do. But of course, it is easier said than done. And if you've already lived your life in that way so far, by overcommitting yourself, committing yourself to things that you don't necessarily fully support in your heart, and committing because of obligations and whatever.
Yes.
Perhaps the only way to release the guilt is to forgive yourself.
I suppose we're slow at doing that, aren't we? We perhaps expect too much of ourselves and then, can't forgive ourselves for any imperfection, maybe. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but then I don't think that even the forgiveness element comes into anybody's mind because, like I said, self-judgment is there. Self-judgment is so unconscious. We do it like straight away without even thinking about it, without even realizing that we are doing. And now that we become aware, we know that there's something doesn't feel right. We know that we have this heaviness, we have this guilt, and carrying that for a long time is not going to help you in any way.
Sure.
And the only way to release it is to accept it and forgive yourself and and love yourself more, because
Mm.
probably people are not thinking, oh yeah, I must love myself more, but
That's right. Yeah, it's not the it's not the kind of thing that you necessarily think about, is it really? But it's worth stopping and just thinking about. And the forgiveness side of thing. I mean, forgiveness is a hard topic, whether it's forgiving somebody else that's wronged you or forgiving yourself for doing wrong stuff, isn't it? It's a difficult one to do, just to to get to that point.
it is difficult, like I said, because you don't even realize you have to love yourself, but then um and you might even think, oh, I don't not love myself, but then you take care of the things that you love. But what happens when something goes wrong? You blame yourself. The first thing you blame is yourself. Oh, what a silly person, or whatever, why did I do this? And you judge yourself and you start being hard on yourself and you self-sabotage. So that's not exactly act of love towards yourself, is it?
That's right. And I think, from talking to you before previous podcasts, you wouldn't treat your best friend like that. So
Oh.
why'd you do it to yourself? Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So you wouldn't treat your best friend like that. You wouldn't do that to your child. And but why do you keep doing that to yourself? And if you're actually doing that to yourself every time, what's really happening is that you're showing your children this is how you treat yourself.
Right. So that's Now there's an incentive to try and think this through a bit more, isn't it? Yeah.
It is. Yes, it is.
Because they're watching us, aren't they? They really are, watching what we're doing and how we're doing stuff and how we're reacting to things. We're on their camera 24/7 almost.
We so are, and even though they're not listening or they don't seem to be listening, they're taking it all in,
Yes.
just like a CCTV camera,
Yeah, that's right.
24/7. And if you want to watch back what you're like in life, how you behave in a certain way every day, you just watch your children. They are the mirror of what you do, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, very often, particularly in the younger years, Daniel repeat back sentences. I think that's straight out of my book. He's heard me say that. But I used to do that to my own dad as well. I used to say things and people say, oh, it sounds like his dad, listen, look at his dad talking out there at the gate, to somebody walking past on the path. It's yeah.
So that's it. So yeah, the answer to the question, to release the guilt, is to first of all choose the things that will not make you feel guilty, and that requires a whole level of awareness and self-control and mind mastery, as we've been talking about. But then when you do feel guilty, recognize that you are feeling guilty, because sometimes acknowledging the feeling itself is a big step forwards in healing it, and accept it, that this is how I'm feeling right now. And just forgive yourself. Just say, yes, I forgive myself because I have done this. But you are only human after all. And so despite all of that, I still love and accept myself. You literally have to say these words to yourself in order to complete that process. And it's actually quite healing and quite nice to hear, because most of the time the things that you say to yourself aren't nice things. And as we said before, if you say that to your best friend, you won't be having a best friend for for much longer. So
that's it. And that's in our conscious mind, isn't it, to behave that way? But I think like a lot of things we've talked about, it's there in the subconscious, isn't it, really? And we're not aware. It's so much of what we've talked about in the past. It's all about awareness, isn't it, really, of these things?
Exactly. And once you're aware, you can't ignore it anymore, and you can be an observer to it rather than a judge for it.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
So you can observe your reactions to some of the events and just say, well, that's interesting. I feel triggered by this. I feel angry or frustrated or whatever as a result of this. But what is it that what's causing that in the first place? What am I thinking that caused that feeling? And what is the reaction in reaction to this? So it's just a process of awareness, and once you're aware of that thought process, you get to observe it. And when you're an observer, you're no longer in the event, if you like, and therefore you can be a little bit more objective rather than subjective and take everything personally, etc. So
Well, that's given us a lot to think about today,
There
certainly.
is.
Yeah. And it must be one of those things that just holds people back. I'm interested in, trying to, in general terms, think, what are the things that enable people and what are the things that disable people or restrain people? And, that I think probably what we've been talking about today is one of the sort of key restrainers, possibly.
Yes,
in
very much so. Very much
in
so.
our
Yes.
personal growth and in our developing as a person and maturing and moving forward and finding that greater level of love and fulfillment in our life, which we all need. It can sound a bit hairy fairy at times, but this is real stuff that we're talking about, and people do need this stuff. So don't write it off unnecessarily, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, apply it, see the results. Don't take our word for it. You get to apply this. You have the choice to apply and see the results for yourself. And this is kind of magical stuff. Even though it's not magic, it's magical stuff when the things start to happen.
Yes.
So, yeah.
That's really good. So, I mean, okay, there are going to be times, what am I trying to say, where we've got this wrong in the past. We've done something wrong, and then on top of that, we've had that bad reaction, oh, you idiot, you shouldn't have done that, and that guilt and whatever. So actually now, if we go back, it's all right to say, I reacted in that way, but now I'm going to choose to do something differently.
Exactly.
Isn't it? Surely. Yeah.
Yes, I reacted in that way, but that's also a reaction from not knowing the truth. The truth was that I am human. I get to make mistakes and I can learn from my mistakes. And despite my mistakes, I still love and forgive myself. I accept myself, and I get to create better experiences because of those mistakes. And sometimes the mistakes are there for us to learn and for us to better ourselves, because if you don't know what's wrong, you can't put things right. If you don't make any mistakes, you never lived, because you never experienced anything in life, really.
There two things come to my mind. First of all, and it's bad English, if anybody is English isn't your first language, this is not the best piece of English, but so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So that's one thing that we say. Another thing, it reminds me of what somebody said in response to a mistake that I made in my job in industry. And he said to me, I said, look, I'm really sorry about the problem that I've caused through the oversight and the error. And he said, a chap from up north thinking, that's all right, young man. The only people that don't make mistakes are people that don't do anything.
Exactly.
And I'm thinking, there you go. If you ever try, if you're making an effort, you're trying to do stuff, you're getting in there, you're going to make a mistake. If you're perfect and you don't make any mistakes, then you're probably not doing anything.
And
you're probably not living.
Exactly. Most of the time, though, people strive for the 100% perfection, and that's why they don't get to do anything. And when they make the mistakes, this is when the judgment comes in, because they are trying to be perfect. So maybe change the expectations. You said earlier that we are putting so much expectations on ourselves. Perhaps change the expectation, understand a bit better, more realistically, what is it that you can really achieve? What is it you can really commit to and stay integrity to your word, in integrity? And then you will have less disappointment. You'll make fewer mistakes, and there will be less to feel guilty about.
Yeah.
How about that?
That's very good. Yeah. And it's, that manageable chunk. I think, that's the other big mistake in modern life, that people just fill themselves up with an impossible schedule in the first place. And then you can only possibly fail. You can only possibly fall short of the expectation that you have.
Yeah.
And if that's unrealistic, it's not fair, is it?
No. Yeah, exactly.
So amazing stuff. I think we've run out of time for another chat.
It looks like it.
I think it is. So great to see you again, Shulai, and look forward to talking to you again next time.
Yes, likewise. Thank you.